I'm engaged. Molweni, I hope you guys are good. It's been a minute. I kind of need to ease myself back into it, but I felt like, you know what, better start as opposed to chilling the whole time, thinking about starting and never starting. So here we are. My name is Vuyelwa N, for those of you who don't know me. I took a bit of a hiatus. I took an impromptu hiatus, which ended up lasting basically the whole year. I kept filming content, editing content, and just not posting it. Granted, a lot happened this year. There's been a lot going on. But as I always say, YouTube is one of those hobbies, one of those outlets, one of those gifts and talents, one of those platforms that I will always go back to. I will always come back to YouTube. And so here we are. This is basically just to give you guys a little bit of a life update, to introduce myself to those of you who are new here, as well as to reintroduce myself to those who knew me before. Like I said, a lot's been going on. So if you're interested to find out what's been happening in my life this year, as well as what's in store for the year ahead, 2024, keep watching. Oh! Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, so I made a few notes on my phone. I just want to highlight major things that have happened this year. There are 5. Firstly, I got baptized in January. Secondly, I got promoted for the second time within a space of 6 months. We'll unpack that shortly. Thirdly, I was involved in a car accident that, quite frankly, could have taken my life. But God. We'll unpack that shortly as well. Fourth, I almost lost my childhood home. And last, but definitely not least, and most exciting, kind of like the proverbial silver lining, I'm engaged! Take a moment for that to sink in. I'm a fiance. I want to start off with the most exciting, which happens to be the last one, the engagement. As you guys will have seen in the boyfriend tag that I posted last year, Ro and I have always had marriage on the table, but it was just a matter of when. Had it been up to the man, we probably would have gotten engaged and married within the first 3 months, 6 months of us dating, but at the time, I was a student, he was working, so I really wanted to first get myself sorted, as my mom used to say. First get your... Back in the day, being a nurse was like the bee's knees. So when they would say first make sure that you're sorted, they basically mean first get your education, get your life, and then consider settling down. That's just how I was raised. So when he was trying to, you know, speak to my family, bring the cows home, I was like, sir, calm down. Calm down. And now 4.5 years later, we are engaged. We got engaged on the 4th of November, but it actually turns out he got the ring earlier on in the year. So almost a year ago, I showed him this exact ring, which is like exactly what I love. It's nice and dainty, but at the same time, the rock is rocking. I didn't think that the rock was as big as it is in real life. I thought it was a little bit smaller, kind of like a little bit bigger than my promise ring, which he gave me last year. But it's actually bigger than I expected in person, and it's like, yeah, it's something. So he got the ring back in May, June, with the plans to propose in September. However, in July, I was in an accident, and in September, you know, everyone that was supposed to be at the engagement, things just happened. A lot of people were traveling, plans were made and whatnot, so that was postponed. And then even now in November, we were supposed to get engaged at a wine farm with some family around, but that didn't pan out. So Mans was just like, look, man, I'm gonna do this. And we got engaged at a picnic. I thought we were just having a regular picnic, a picnic date, which turned out into a... If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen the video that I posted of our engagement, and yeah, and I'm really loving it. I'm honestly loving it. I understand why people become bridezillas, I must say. I know it's very early days, but like, whew, there's a lot of planning that goes into it. There's a lot of attention to detail. There's a lot of, especially with someone who enjoys paying attention to detail, it can be easy to become pedantic about something. So I know for a fact that if I were to get a wedding planner or an event planner or something like that, I would probably be on their case the whole time. I'd probably be very hands-on. So there's that. I am engaged. Now that that's out the way, let's rewind a bit and take it back to the beginning of the year. So starting off the year, I made the decision to get baptized, and I had never been baptized before. I think I may have been dedicated as a baby, but I've never actually been baptized where like I was, consciously aware of the decision that I was making, of the step that I was taking, and also of what being baptized entails. And I must say that getting baptized opened me up to a lot of, let me rephrase that. Earlier on this week, I was watching a video and I heard something that the devil doesn't care that you don't serve him or you don't worship him. He just cares that you don't serve or worship God. So getting baptized drew me a lot nearer to God, number one. And number two, all I can say is this year it's been evident that the people down below, them spirits down below, they were not happy about that because, wow. And that's probably something that I'll unpack in a different video. But getting baptized, I must say, has been one of the best decisions that I've made in terms of drawing nearer to God, in terms of finding myself, finding my faith, and just growing firm in my faith, even if it at times has meant having faith as big as a mustard seed. Getting baptized has really changed the game. And I literally need to make a whole video about from being baptized to now and just what all of that entails. Another thing is that me being baptized has also affected some of the lives of my loved ones. So it would be a topic that I would need to really discuss with sensitivity, but it's something that I really want to discuss because I believe it's important for, I always love seeing us as young people stepping into faith because someone's got to keep the flames going. Someone's got to keep the fire burning. Someone's got to, keep the faith. And that's going to be our generation. So there's a lot of nuance to it. There's a lot to it. But getting baptized, drawing nearer to God, growing in my prayer life, although I've been in a bit of a dip recently, but I've still kept the faith. That's what has changed for me this year. And it started with being baptized, as well as sowing seeds. I had this intense conviction in my heart earlier on in the year to sow a seed, and I've been doing so faithfully for most of the year. And even that, I've learned so much about what sowing a seed means, and that's that. Yeah. All I'm saying is my spiritual life, my faith has completely changed this year. Shortly after getting baptized, I got promoted. So last year in 2022, I was promoted from a controller to a second in command, a coordinator in August. And then that was already a big step because I worked for a retail giant in Africa. So that already for me was like a, whoa, okay. Also considering the fact that I studied biotechnology, which is in the science field, having pivoted from biotech to retail, e-commerce, logistics operations, having pivoted to that, the uncertainty that came with that, but then also all of that just changing within such a short space of time, because I was only with the company 10 months and then I got promoted to coordinator, and then I was with the company a further 4 or 5 months and I was promoted again to team leader, which happened earlier this year. That was such a momentous milestone. It was such a momentous achievement. And I'm honestly just so grateful. I'm still in the team leader role. It's my first team leader role in corporate, like proper leadership, not like 2IC, not stand in while, this person's on leave or whatever, but like actual having my own team to manage within the department. And I've learned so much. I feel like that deserves a video of its own even as well, because baby, corporate, I feel like we also need to discuss being Christian in corporate, being Christian in the workplace, or being an agent of Christ in the workplace and in corporate. Because, whoa. My sister and I were discussing yesterday when she came over for dinner, and we were talking about she was talking about how she's had to, distance herself from some conversations in the workplace because the lines get blurred very easily. And, when you're trying to stay on the narrow path in spaces that are dominated by, worldly culture, it's very easy to be drawn back into that. And I found myself calling myself out a lot in the workplace where it's like, going back to that quote, the devil doesn't care that you serve him. He cares that you don't serve God. And that for me was a lot of conviction because if you break it down into the small things, it's like, did you serve God in that interaction with that colleague that you don't like? Did you serve God in your work by meeting your deadlines, by how you show up to work, the attitude that you carry yourself with at work? Do you serve God? And that also brings me to me filming this video. One of the things that convicted me was, do I serve God in using my talents and gifts to bring him glory? And it's like, as much as the break this year was needed, because there was honestly just a lot going on, as much as it was needed, it's also just like I was getting comfortable in being complacent, getting comfortable in procrastination, getting comfortable in just taking the back seat. So that's been me. I am thoroughly enjoying my role. I'm still enjoying my work. I still enjoy working for the company. I'm really enjoying where my career is headed, the trajectory that it's taken. I'm really just in a good place in life, in work especially. Work is like my happy place, aside from home, of course. But yeah. Something that really took a toll on me this year, though, was on the 28th of July, I was involved in a car accident. I'm supposed to do a separate video about that because that's a whole testimony in and of itself. In a nutshell, and trigger warning, I'm going to describe a few of the details, so maybe skip the next minute or so. So the situation with my car is still ongoing, so I can't exactly say too much, but basically here are some pictures to give you guys an idea of what went down. This was the picture of my car at the scene. And this is a short clip of my car at the scrapyard where it was being held right after the accident. These are pictures of my car when it was moved from the scrapyard, and these just basically show you the extent of the damage. This is where the other car hit me, and this is Shibona right now. As you can see, the driver's side is basically untouched. God. God, God, God. I was also very fortunate to have sustained very minimal injuries. I got a bruise on my face, some bruising on my thighs, some scrapes on my ankle, and a minor concussion. Lastly, I had to get a heck load of glass shards removed from my hair, like a lot. So I got that done at the hair salon and my coils were restored. If you look at my car, and again, trigger warning, if you look at my car, and then you look at the fact that I just came out with a scar on my hand, which is barely visible anymore. There's also a scar on my cheek and a scar on my ankle that looks like a butterfly. That's so sweet. Because honestly, butterflies, when I think of butterflies, I think of the whole chrysalis process, but that's a story for another day. But the fact of the matter is, how I made it out of that accident and the fact that I dragged myself out of that car. Now, of course, I was on autopilot and, God, angels, God's hand was over me. It was God. But that honestly, it's something that I really want to unpack. It's a testimony that I really want to get into and really share. That was also a major turning point for me because it left me thinking I cannot imagine going through life not being covered by the blood of Jesus. Yeah, that was just wild to me. That was just absolutely wild. But that was something that really left me wanting to be more reflectful. I know it may sound cliche, but it was like an epiphany. It was like the whole event was an epiphany. It was like a wake-up call. It was completely miraculous. It was an absolute miracle, and I'm really grateful to my family. I'm grateful to my now fiance. I'm grateful to my support system, my friends. I'm really grateful even to my online community, my online family. I really appreciate the support that I receive because honestly, the first month or so was very like high spirits. But afterwards, when you start, you can't help but, I mean, as a human being, I can't help but reflect on the what if. And it's just like, it's just wild. And also the fact that I have to drive past the accident site every single day when I go to work. So it's a lot. It's a lot, but I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I also just want to put a disclaimer out there that humor is a coping mechanism for me. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I also, we're in December now. I've had a lot of time to, process, and it's still it's ongoing. It's ongoing. But I've had a lot of time to process, what happened. I mean, I got my car only in November last year and lost it July this year. And there's just been a lot going on thereof. I don't think I'm in a position to fully disclose what's been going on behind the scenes, but it's been an emotionally taxing season, but God. You know in the Bible how it talks about how God will sometimes put you in a situation or in a season where you have no choice but to rely on Him? I feel like that's where I've been at this year. Like, where the lows have just been so low, but the highs have been so sweet and beautiful and worth it. And it's all just led back to the reminder of the fact all you need is faith as big as a mustard seed. Not as small as a mustard seed. Faith as big as a mustard seed. And that's honestly what this year has taught me so far. To pray without ceasing and to be grateful, which I already was. But I think sometimes we fall into a passive gratitude, a passive participation in our lives. And the accident has honestly taught me to be more present and more intentional. So then something else that was a bit traumatic was I almost lost my childhood home. That's really a bit of a tricky situation to talk about because even that is still ongoing. But long story short, God is faithful, God is in control, God don't play about His children, and God's got us. Moving on. Back to the silver lining. I can honestly say that the in-betweens, I moved in with my friend at the beginning of the year. That has been an interesting journey. It's the truth that living with your friend is no child's play. I've learned so much about my friend. I've learned so much about our relationship, the different dynamics, the different seasons that can take place within 1 month, within 1 week, actually. And also Pina. Pina is so grown, my cat. The last time you guys saw him, he was a baby. He turned 1 in September, and he is such a smart baby boy. And he is a mama's boy, but let's not get into that because his dad is sitting right there. But we all know who his main human is and who his spare humans are, if we're keeping it a book. But I think the greatest takeaway from this year is, I wrote here, the year may have felt tumultuous at times, where the lows I've faced have felt so low and the highs have been so sweet. This year has taught me the true essence of walking under the covering of the blood of Jesus. It's shown me what it means to relinquish control and truly let go and let God. Which actually leads me to one more thing that I wanted to talk about is I got new tattoos. So I already had the semicolon on my wrist, and I already had the cross as well, which is also like on the side of my wrist. I also got one of my favorite scriptures, Philippians 4 verse 6 to 7, which basically says, do not be anxious, but in all things give thanks. And by prayer and supplication, submit your requests unto Him, and let the peace that surpasses all understanding guard your heart. I'm paraphrasing, girl, but it goes like that basically. And the reason why I had this put right at the bottom of my cross is it's for me a reminder to always lay any anxiety at the foot of the cross and to leave it there. to leave all anxiety at the foot of the cross, and then to allow the peace of God that surpasses all understanding to guard my heart. And then I also got a dove with an olive branch on my other wrist, which in the Bible was a sign of deliverance and a sign of a season of peace from God to Noah after the flood. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope that you've enjoyed this life update. I touched on the major events that have taken place this year, as I do plan to unpack a few of those events and just other lessons that I've learned this year. I also plan to delve into more of my faith and what I've learned this year, and also just to hopefully bring you along on the journey as I learn the Bible and its teachings. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and see you in the next video. Mwah!